Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Lori Smith on Blog Talk Radio. Good evening. It is 10 o'clock p.m. here in Calgary, Alberta, Monday night, November the 7th. I'm glad to be here. This is Child Abuse Prevention is Up to Us, and we're on for 30 minutes. It's a live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com. And sorry I'm a minute or so late here. I don't even have the chat room open, and I can't put it open until the screen changes on the studio, so sorry about that. Yeah, it's been a busy day, and I was over at Bill Murray's show, Scan, Stop Child Abuse Now, here on Blog Talk Radio earlier, and it's a great panel of survivors who, are really all about, sharing their stories of recovery, sharing their stories of being in recovery, and really just sharing a lot of hope, for survivors of abuse, right? Bill Murray's show is awesome, and, he's got a great co-host, Jessica Stevens, and he's got MJ, she's a doctor, she's actually an RN, and all kinds of people on that panel. And so once in a while, if I have time, I try to join them. And the show comes on right when I get home from work, so I'm generally pretty busy, so I don't get over there very often, but it is a great show. I hope people check it out. It's here on Blog Talk Radio. Bill Murray's Scan, Stop Child Abuse Now. And it's really there's a not-for-profit organization behind it, and that is NACA, the National Association for Adult Survivors of Child Abuse, and that's NAASCA.org. And they're a not-for-profit, and it's a great organization. I just love those guys, and really, they keep telling me I'm family, and I consider them my family too. They're awesome. Well, tonight Marjorie McKinnon was on. Margie McKinnon, and it was great to hear from her. She's the founder of the Lamplighter movement. And if you go to http://thelamplighter's.org, you can pull up the information there. That is Marjorie McKinnon's. It's really what it is a support group, all based on a repair program for survivors of child sexual abuse, incest, rape, sexual assault, sexual abuse, right? And great stuff. Marjorie McKinnon, she has a story that, her, just the fact that she survived her, through childhood and actually made it here today is just like any of us survivors. Really, it's a miracle. And what she's done is so wonderful. And a while back, I had signed up to be a chapter facilitator here in Calgary because we don't have a lot of support groups that are easily accessible for people. You can't just search online and find Calgary sexual abuse support groups, right? It's just not very common. I've been searching for a long, long time and haven't seen any. There is a couple that are associated with a couple different organizations who are, you have to pay to belong to them, and you actually have to join their therapy. You have to sort of sign in as a mental health patient in order to use their services. And so lots of people will not access that, including me. You know what I mean? I'm one of these people that I don't trust the system. I don't really, you know what I mean? No, I'm doing all my stuff self-help, and I like it that way. I prefer it that way, and I'm fine. But the thing is some people do need more therapy, or they need to see a psychotherapist or a counselor or whatever, and that's fine. There's no stigma attached to it. For me, I just want to do self-help because for me, I'm okay doing that. You know what I mean? But what I find really great is support groups. I belonged to, a while back, actually a few years ago, I belonged to a couple different support groups, and one was an online support group that, you could go on anonymously. You could use a different name. You didn't have to tell people who you were, and you could just get support that way. And another group was an online community forum group, which actually I was just on there, until not too long ago. I just didn't have time for it anymore. But great resource for survivors of abuse, to know that there are people out there who are, having to go through the same types of things, the same issues many times, suffering sort of, because of the abuse that they suffered and having a hard time, just dealing with day-to-day life. It's great to have somebody to talk to. And I have a support system built in around me, so I'm not really alone. You know what I mean? A lot of people might think, well, you're doing self-help, you must be completely on your own in this. That's just not true at all. I have people who check in with me every day, really good friends who I consider my family, who are here to support me, really. They'll check in with me every day, make sure I'm okay, see how I'm doing. It's not that they're worried about me or anything like that, but they want to make sure that I know that they're there for me and that, if I need anything, they're there. And that's awesome. It's good to have a support system, right? Well, that's kind of what I wanted to do for, as far as facilitating for the Lamplighter movement, and have a chapter here in Calgary and just facilitate this meeting. You don't have to be a therapist. You don't have to be a counselor. You don't even really have to be a survivor, but what you have to be is somebody who is compassionate, someone who is respectful, someone who treats people with dignity, someone who is unbiased, someone who's knowledgeable about survivor issues and about, the issues of sexual abuse and child sexual abuse and whatnot. You can even be an advocate. You don't necessarily have to be a survivor, and you don't have to be a therapist or counselor because it's a support group, and it's free to join, and anybody can come, and there's no commitment. You don't have to sign up and say, okay, I'll go to every single meeting. You just you come if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. It's free, and so I've set it up here in Calgary for the third Saturday of every month, and I'll just meet at a specified location here in Calgary, which is going to cost me money because there's no free spaces here in Calgary. You just can't find anything here in Calgary. The air you breathe is pretty well taxed. I mean, Calgary is a really expensive place to live. It's incredibly expensive. You just can't find a free meeting space, and not very many people would want to sit and talk about child sexual abuse in the mall. Our malls are busy places. It's not like you could find a little space where you could sit and chat for hours. Even restaurants here in Calgary are just jam-packed with people all the time, so it'd be impossible to find a restaurant that was quiet enough that you could sit in a corner and talk about your, the issues. So I think it's just going to have to be a meeting room. It's going to cost me $15 a month, and if anybody's listening to this and you're in Calgary and you know someone in Calgary who wants to get involved and be part of this the Lamplighters movement support group, get a hold of me, because I'm here. I'm a resource for people, and just as other people are supporting me, you know what I mean. I'm well along in my healing journey, you know what I mean. Like I'm not back where I used to be, you know what I mean. So like I'm able to offer support for other people, you know what I mean, because I'm pretty well through most of my healing journey now. I have a little bit of work to do, and and that's great. Like I'm so happy to be here now. I was talking about this morning actually on my show, One Child Abuse Survivor to Another, because 4.5 years ago when I first started my healing journey, I was in a pretty dark place, and I had been there for my whole lifetime. And 4.5 years later of intense really working through the stuff, not just working on it once every 2 or 3 months. Like I would be working on this every day for 4.5 years, self-development and, really changing my behaviors, changing some of the attitudes that I had, really working on that and changing how I felt about myself, which took me 4.5, 4 years to do, to develop the sense of, hey, you know what, the shame is not mine. The guilt is not mine. The shame is not mine. I did not deserve to be treated that way as a child. No child does. And I think because I've been doing this blog talk radio program, it certainly has helped me out. It's given me a voice. It's given me a place to talk about this stuff, and which I feel is very important that it is publicly talked about, because child abuse has always been hidden away and swept under the carpet. Nobody wants to really know about it. And even, you can't blame people. You really can't. I can't blame people for not wanting to know about it. But then there's the situation where children are dying, and if we don't know about it, more children are just going to die, right, without the education, without the fact that, we need more being done. And I'm not running down the government. I love the government. Hey, you know what? I'm totally pro-government. You know what I mean? Like, I don't sit and run down the government. Reason being is that we need a government because we're all too ignorant to be able to govern ourselves. That's the whole issue. If we were intelligent enough to govern ourselves, we wouldn't need government. So obviously we need a government, and I'm all pro-government. I'm also pro-law, 100%. When you need the law, man, you better believe it, you're happy to see the law. When you're on the wrong side of the law, of course you're not going to be happy to see the law. But when you're on the right side of the law is there for our own protection, and because we're so ignorant, we can't just all leave each other alone. So the laws are necessary. This is why we have these things in place, because humanity is messed up. And so therefore, I'm not going to sit here and run down the government and run down the system. What I am going to do is be proactive and say, you know what, we need change. We need better programs. We need more money going into this stuff. That's obvious. We need more funding, not cuts, not budget cuts, to the social services programs, not budget cuts to the health care, and the mental health care programs. We need more money put into that, more funding. Well, there's nothing wrong with saying that because I'm not running anybody down. It's just a fact. And I mean, everybody knows it. But sadly enough, where's it going to come from? So much is allocated out, and, it's just a really bad situation. It really is, because what's behind it is people suffering. It's not just the numbers and stuff. It's not just the money. It's not just this and it's not just that. It's behind all this stuff is children suffering, adolescents suffering. School-age children suffering, adolescents suffering, teens suffering, young adults suffering, right? And that's really where it all comes down to. And so, people are relying heavily on volunteers. I keep trying to volunteer for different places, and it's like they want volunteers, but then they never get back to you. And it's like, I think it's because they don't have enough volunteers to even get back to people who want to be volunteers, right? That's the problem. And like, I'm always volunteering because I figure, hey, you know what? I mean, so it's not a paying job. It pays me in ways that money can't pay me. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the road, I'm going to be able to look back on this life and say, man, I really tried to make a difference, And that's important for me as a survivor of abuse. You better believe it is, because I know what my family went through. I know what I went through, and I know what these other people are going through out here. And they need help, And so if they can't get help through the services, then they need volunteers, They need people to step up to the plate. So I kind of, I have to balance it out. I do. I mean, I have to take certain nights off, and I have to, take a break here and there. I took a month off anyway for the month of October because I just needed a break. And plus I had to finish my book. There was a lot of things going on. And then plus I needed a break. I was like, okay, I need a break. But, in order to do the long haul, it has to be a balance. You know what I mean? But I figure, hey, if I can donate a few hours here and a few hours there, and if I can pitch out money for a meeting room here in Calgary for once a month, not a big deal. Like the Calgary chapter for the Lamplighters that I'll be facilitating is just one day a month, one Saturday a month. It's only for a couple hours, and so I'm willing to pitch out the money to do that. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's not a big deal to me. I'm $30,000 in debt. What's another few bucks? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is helping people, because I know at the end of the road when I leave here, it will not have been about how much money I have in my bank account. It won't be about what I have in my apartment. What it's going to be about is what kind of a person were you? What kind of a life did you lead? I just didn't want my life to be all about abuse and then a bit about suffering as a victim. I wanted to be a victorious, right? And I wanted to help drag along as many people as I could to the finish line to realize that, hey, we deserve to have a healthy life, a good life. We did not deserve the abuse that we suffered. Nobody does. And so, if someone, is out there and needs a hand, people gave me a hand. And so I thought, hey, I don't mind passing the hand back on to others, back out to other survivors to say, here, take my hand. That's what other people did for me, many people. So it's a good feeling, to be able to do that. So of course it's very proactive for my healing journey. It's also I think some of the final stages of a person's healing journey, which is to give back. It's, you know what I mean? It's not just all about taking me. At some point it has to be turned around, because everything is a balance, And so, for the last couple of years, it has been all about me, just talking about my story, writing my books, focusing on my story, because I needed to do that to make sense of what happened to me as a child so that I could heal. And so I could understand why I felt the way that I did, instead of just feeling, the shame and the guilt. I had to take a look at it to understand what was actually happening and why I was feeling the way I was and how to correct it. And so, it's a great feeling to be on this side, I tell you that. But I know what it's like to be on the other side of that, and the misery and the pain and the suffering and the internal agony, really, that a lot of people are in. I've been there. I've been down to the darkest pits of hell, suicidal and just hating life and hating people and hating myself and hating God, hating everything, I spent my whole teenage years doing that. But you know, it's you know, it's great to be able to give back. So this is really just a show to talk about giving back, you know, like whatever you want to do, like whatever capacity you want to volunteer with or you want to help somebody, you know, I would say just get involved, right? Especially to stop child abuse. I think it's so important. You know, so many people don't care. They really don't. They don't care that some baby's getting their head bashed in tonight. They don't care that some little 5-year-old child's going to be raped and sodomized tonight. They really don't. They don't care. But I do, because I know what it's like. You know what I mean? And I know what it's like. I know how painful it is and how extremely damaging it is to be abused as a child. And so for me, it's crucial that we all stand up and do something. You know, we can only do so much in a 24-hour period. I mean, I had to work today full day. You know what I mean? And I have to cook dinner. I got things to do. Not only that, but I'm online trying to research for meeting rooms for the lamplighters and, you know, trying to do some free advertising, which I did find a couple places to advertise for free. But, you know, it takes hours to comb through this stuff. And, you know, so I mean, hey, we can only do so much in a 24-hour period. But I would say even if you just volunteer once or twice a month to help out an organization, a couple hours here, a couple hours there, it really does make a huge difference. Or just volunteering to be a mentor for somebody, like a mentor for like if you're in that capacity and you like to work with kids and you have kids, it's a great thing to do to be a mentor, you know, for a young person, right? I myself am going to be more inclined in getting into counseling and recovery coach skills. I'll be doing some what my goal is to become a recovery coach, and so that and a crisis coach. So I'll be doing that, and that's my next goal, which you know should happen here in the next year. But the thing is until then, you know, there's lots of things we can do to get involved and help out. And you don't have, I mean, nobody has to do what I'm doing, which is to really devote my life to it, but you know, I would say even like just donating one Saturday a month where you say, okay, one Saturday a month or one Sunday a month, I'm going to find an organization that needs, you know, a couple hours here and there of somebody just helping out, you know. Like I was just checking out the Calgary Women's Association website, and they need volunteers for everything, you know, like 1 hour here, 2 hours there. And this is just in my own city, you know what I mean? But the opportunities are there if you look around. Maybe not in some of the smaller communities, you know, and even there might be something you could do to help out, you know. But the bigger, you know, urban centers, you know, definitely have a lot of need. There's a lot of need, you know what I mean, for everything you can think of. And so I just signed up to be a workshop facilitator for the Calgary Women's Group. So, you know, this is the thing, like, because it's only going to be like, once a week, you know, 2 or 3 hours. Like, who cares? That's great. Like, great, right on. You get out, you get to help people, you get to meet people, you get to be a positive influence in somebody's life. I always remembered all these positive influences in my life. You know, people that were a positive influence in my life, I'll never forget those people because they stood out amongst these other people that were hurting me, destroying me, degrading me, you know, trashing my body, trashing my spirit, trashing my whole being. And then here comes these other people that I thought, wow, like these people are different. Like look at them, they're intelligent, they're helpful, they're good people. You know, I had some really good teachers when I was in high school that made a huge impact on my life. You know, just people that just stand out because of who they are and what they do. You know, and it's not like they're wealthy or famous or anything else. They're just good people who really care about people, you know, and they're willing to just be that type of person for other people, right? And so we can all do that in some capacity, I think, you know. I think we all have it within us to do that, right? And it's important to get involved, like where you can. So the Lamplighters, that's an amazing organization. I hope you would check it out. It's just completely free. There's no money collected. It's not an organization that's, you know, it's not even a not-for-profit. There's just no money involved. It is a support group system based on Marjorie McKinnon's repair program, which, you know, as a facilitator, I don't even have to use the repair program, although she would like it if we did. But there is a code of ethics and a code of conduct, you know, during the meetings that we need to follow, and that's just to be respectful, right? And it's also about you know, healing, right? So whatever the group decides that they, you know, that they would like to do as a group. I myself want to follow the repair program, so that's what I'm going to be doing. But because I think it's important, because it works, right? But there's so much good stuff out there. Like Beverly Searle, she's got the self-help starter kit for forget talking therapy, which is really, it's not like she's putting down talking therapy. She was just saying, she actually explained why she said that and why she called it that. Because it's all about pictures in the limbic system of the brain. And when we're trying to heal from flashbacks and horrific, traumatic memories of anything, whether it's a car accident or whatever it may be, it's all pictures. There's no language in the limbic system in the brain. So you can't talk that away. The pictures will be there. So it's through, a type of visualization, guided imagery that we can actually help ourselves. And actually, I have been on this program for about 6 months, I'd say. Maybe, about 5 months, maybe. And it's made a huge difference in my life. It's made a huge impact. But I can only say that about myself. You know what I mean? Like, I know that it helped me out. I don't know if it would help anybody else out. But, there's things out there that we can try, that we can try to help, to help ourselves, to help other people, to feel better, And, I mean, if you need a counselor or if you need a therapist, I mean, that's just what you need, There's no shame in it. There's no, I mean, who cares what people think? That's what I say. I don't care what people think. I really don't. The reason being is that shame is not mine, and the guilt was not mine. I did not ask for that abuse, There's no way that a child would ask for that abuse, or even an adult. People say, oh, well, he wanted it or she wanted it. Like, that is so incredibly wrong and twisted for people to say. You know what I mean? Like, no one deserves to be treated that way, and it's the abuser's choice to do these things, right? And so I don't have any shame or guilt or anything like that. That's not part of me. That doesn't belong to me. I don't even have to accept that. That's not mine. Because for the longest time I carried it. I carried shame and I carried guilt from being sexually abused as a child and from being hated and unwanted by my mother mainly. And, by my dad's spiritual abuse mainly and some physical abuse. But, and just the sexual abuse in the home, really. Absolutely horrific, No child should ever have to go through that and then carry the pain and carry the torment from that, and then into, growing up and into an adult and still dealing with it. And that's where I was, 4.5 years ago. And now sitting here tonight, like, I'm in such a better place. And bad things happen. Things happen. You know what I mean? There's always going to be a bad day. There's always going to be something going on where it's a challenge, where, it doesn't seem to be working, or things just, it's a crappy day. I have bad days too. Everybody does. But we have to look for that good stuff, And I think that's a challenge in life, especially for a lot of people who have been, so down for so long, or possibly even suffering from clinical depression, or, just different things like that, It's really hard to hold on to those good days and to hold on and remember to even look for those good days. But it's doable, and I think we need to have good support in our lives. We need to have a good support system, because for so long I was trying to do this on my own, and I couldn't do it on my own. I mean, I was trying to literally do it on my own, right? I wasn't talking to too many people about what I had been through. I wasn't really getting any help for my issues from being abused as a child. And didn't even want to face the child sexual abuse. I mean, I was just like not going to face that. Not until this last year I finally faced it. Because I knew I was going to have to eventually, but I wanted to deal with stuff from my mother mainly first, because that was what was eating me up for my whole life. It was killing me. That my mother didn't want me. And that she didn't care if I lived or died. She really didn't. I had a car accident one time when I was 16, and I told her I came home, and I actually drove my car home because it was just, it wasn't too damaged. It was still drivable. But it was pretty bad because we hit a tree. And I hit several trees, actually, in my youth with this one car. I think the car had some sort of a mission to hit trees. But anyway, it's probably me. So I told my mother I wrecked my car. And she just was like, oh, well, She didn't even care. She didn't even say, well, do you need to go to the hospital or anything? Or are you okay here? Let me check you. No, my mother didn't care. She was my main abuser, right? She didn't care. My mother didn't care if I lived or died. She really didn't. That's a hard situation for a child to grow up in, to know that your parents don't care. And, like, I was a throwaway child. Like, if I would have run away, my parents would not have looked for me. And that's the truth. They wouldn't have called it in. They wouldn't have reported it. I would have been one of these kids out here that would have been just gone, lost, because they wouldn't have bothered to report it. They were brought up on charges, on abuse charges, and they wouldn't have wanted it to go any further, to escalate, right? And so, yeah, no, that's just the way they were. And so, I mean, I had to learn that I have self-worth and that I'm worth it, that I have worth here on the earth, and that I, did not deserve what I got as a child, right? And it's taken me, 4.5 years to learn that. So now what I'm doing is really trying to live it, you know what I mean? Instead of just still wallowing back in that old stuff. Now I'm just saying, you know what? Yeah, no, I do. I do have worth, I do have value as a person here on the earth, I can do good things. I can help people. I can be a good influence and a good person on this earth, And I certainly didn't deserve what I got as a child, and I can help other people, and I can help myself, And what a good feeling, because 2 of my brothers killed themselves, and I was headed that way. One of my sisters died of cancer at a pretty early age, and she was just miserable her whole life, and she was suicidal too, and she was just miserable. She just didn't like her life at all. And she had 2 boys, but she was so screwed up from the abuse, And my other sister, she's just, I don't know what she's going to do. She's not on her healing journey. I hope and I pray that that one day that she does do something with herself, you know what I mean? But hey, we all have choices to make. We all have choices to make. And I chose not to kill myself, and I chose to get help, and I chose to make the right decisions for myself. And I'm still working on it. Who's perfect, but the thing is that I'm making the right choices, and really that is what it is all about. You know what I mean? That is exactly what it's all about. We can choose to hurt ourselves, or we can choose to help ourselves. We can choose to hurt other people. We can choose to help other people. It's our choice, right? Make the right choice for yourself. Do the right things by yourself, and treat yourself well. Treat the people around you well. And take good care of yourself, right? Well, have a great night, everybody. I'll be back on tomorrow morning, one child abuse survivor to another. We'll be continuing on with the inner child healing work. And then I won't see anybody back until Wednesday morning. So have a great night, everybody. Take good care. And you know how I always say on every show, if you can't cope, you call a crisis line. It is your responsibility. It really is. You have to do this. You have to get help. If you need help, you need to get help. You know what I mean? Don't allow yourself to be destroyed by anything that from your past. It's not worth. 2 of my brothers killed themselves, and that is really, really sad. They let my abuser parents win. You know what I mean? They lost that fight. And I wish that sadly enough, one of my brothers that killed himself was the one who sexually used me. But the thing is still the tragedy of making those poor choices. I was following in the same footsteps. I was going to kill myself. Do not do that. You make a phone call. You stay alive. You allow yourself to get help. You allow yourself to get well. And I'm going to be hopefully a suicide counselor here pretty soon. And I hope to be doing that in the next year or so. Qualified suicide crisis counselor, and because I know what it's like to be there. And so you stick around because you matter to me. And you may not matter to yourself or whatever. I was there. I know what that's all about. You matter to me. And you have to stick around, and you have to do the right things. So if you're having a hard time, make the phone call. Call a crisis line. Call somebody. But you make sure you stick it out. You stick around and win this fight. You know what I mean? Do not give up. Man, I tell you, I'm a fighter. I'm like a dog with a bone. That's the only reason why I'm still here. You have to do the same thing. You have to find it from somewhere deep inside there, something that pulls you up and says, you know what, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I am going to live. I'm going to live, and I'm going to get help. And I'm going to allow myself to get help because there's no shame in that. So have a great night, everybody. Take really good care of yourselves. Talk to you soon.